The feeling of being there, of walking the streets of the future, is really going to be breathtaking. You're breathtaking. You're breathtaking.
Last year, right around Gamescom, when Cyberpunk 2077's first gameplay demo was being shown privately to the press, CD Projekt Red created some outrage with a joke that a lot of people did not see as a joke. Now, just about a year later, following that incident, with Cyberpunk 2077 once again in the spotlight, thanks to the latest reveal being shown during Microsoft's E3 conference, we are once again seeing some outrage emerge. This time, though, it appears to be for a few reasons. The first one comes from gaming website Rock Paper Shotgun, which came out with an article after seeing Cyberpunk 2077's E3 2019 private gameplay demo, and their take on the game, in my opinion, feels like a hunt for clicks. The article in question, titled Cyberpunk 2077's E3 demo has weak gunplay and unimaginative stereotypes, expectations tempered. As you might expect, this article appears to be a garbage hit piece that ignores established lore and even the creator behind this franchise. The article begins boldly stating, at some point Cyberpunk 2077 has to evolve from a visually impressive, yes, Keanu, even breathtaking world into something more interesting. I want more than meat and gun oil, I want moral dilemmas and a thoughtful exploration of transhumanism. More importantly, I want the game not to lean on racial stereotypes. After CD Projekt Red's latest E3 demo, I'm concerned on both fronts. I've seen the face of Cyberpunk, and it's got blemishes. So, what are these stereotypes that the writer is bringing attention to? Well, there are two factions in the District of Pacifica, which is said to be the most dangerous part of Night City, a once promising tourist location, which has been abandoned and overrun with criminal activity. This is just one of 6 districts that appear in the whole game. Now, based on Mike Pondsmith's Cyberpunk 2020, the pen and paper RPG, one of the factions already exists. It's the Voodoo Boys, which in the established lore was composed of very vicious, ruthless, sadistic, and disturbing members that did just about any and every horrible act that you could think of. Like, they would dissect their victims' body parts for rituals or use to inspire fear. The gang was composed of white male and female members, but 50-something years later, that isn't the case because, well, I mean, things change, and I'm sure there will be an explanation. But let's get to what Rock Paper Shotgun specifically takes issue with. First, they describe the two gangs shown in the demo. The Voodoo Boys is a hacker group obsessed with transcendence and fixated on uploading themselves to cyberspace. The other gang are the Animals, and they are obsessed with juice. Because we are helping the Voodoo Boys, we attack their rival, and as this journalist writes, we're discovered soon after as a stealth attack goes awry. We punch that man on the floor, then stab another animal many times with a broken bottle as they try to run away from us. It's horrible. The stabbing causes V to level up, and the person playing the demo opens up a menu with 12 options for skill points, though we don't get a good look at them. Once the menu's closed, a man comes at us with superhuman speed, but we grab hold of him and advance on a turret as it riddles his body with bullets. Then, because again we're very strong, we rip the turret off its base and turn it on the Animals. At this point, I feel increasingly uncomfortable that we're shooting at predominantly black people labeled as animals. Later in this article, it's stated, I'm also increasingly concerned about Cyberpunk's handling of non-white cultures. Last year's Gamescom demo drew criticism for its clumsy and inauthentic presentation of a Latino character. Maybe that's referring to Jackie. I don't remember any outrage about that, but I guess there was some. And I'm not convinced the Voodoo Boys are a step in the right direction. At one point, V, the player character, mockingly says, "And who are dem?" in response to Placide's pronunciation, and I'm not sure if I'm saying that character's name right. I asked the CD Projekt Red employee if he was concerned that they weren't treating certain cultures with enough respect. The response, obviously we're paying a lot of attention to representing different groups respectively. You know, there's always a risk. Of course we have it in the back of our heads that we need to be careful about this. We're contacting different consultants to learn about specific groups, and our company has a variety of people with different beliefs. As for the Animals, if you play through the game, you'll see that they're not mostly black people, it's mixed. So just to interject here for a moment, V mocking the accent is something that I don't personally feel is an issue, especially with V not having an established race or gender. We've seen jokes like that told years ago. I remember in Grown Ups, garbage movie. That 2010 Adam Sandler movie, they made fun of the Canadian guy's accent, but nowadays I guess that's a big issue. I just find it ridiculous how these jokes have become controversial. It's not even just Rock Paper Shotgun. Eurogamer brought up the same thing, saying there is some questionable dialogue, or rather questionable subtitling, where the man's thick Creole accent is also written out in the subtitles, they as they and thee as da or d. Eurogamer also stated later on, Placide mentions they are coming, or something of that ilk, and our white male character asks who is they. Again, I do think the emphasis on white male characters is a little dumb, but I just think this is a ridiculous criticism. But back to the Rock Paper Shotgun article, because there's more. He, being the CD Projekt Red employee, told me that most of the city was mixed race, but the backstory for this particular area concerned most people being immigrants from Haiti. By itself that would be fine, but near the end of the demo we meet a white man in a suit and tie who gives us the information we need. He also tells us the voodoo boys are going to turn on us the moment we've done their dirty work, and is immediately proved right. The violent black thugs betrayed us as the corporate white man said they would. If CD Projekt are trying to subvert expectations, if the punchline is, but sometimes the thugs are really thugs, then it's not one that lands. See, the primary issue with this article is a poor understanding of Mike Pondsmith's creation, and even the politics of this Cyberpunk franchise or genre. As somebody who commented on this article said, in the first demo the corporate white woman betrayed V. Maybe the theme of a cyberpunk dystopia is that you can't trust anyone and everyone has an agenda, and that's exactly it. This is not about race, this is about a future where everyone is looking out for themselves. That was pretty much the theme in the cinematic shown at E3 2019, which had Dexter Deshawn betraying V to cover his role in a botched robbery. Another thing people need to understand is Mike Pondsmith is heavily involved in this game. Of course, he's not overlooking every aspect, but I'm certain he's had input on a lot of the story, characters, and gangs of Night City in 2077. This is his creation. If you followed this channel for the last number of years, we've broken down numerous interviews which included Mike Pondsmith talking about how this game is progressing. Additionally, later this year, Cyberpunk Red will be releasing, which is the latest tabletop RPG directly coming from Mike Pondsmith's R. Talsorian Games. Cyberpunk Red is supposed to be set in the years between Cyberpunk 2020 and Cyberpunk 2077, so likely a lot of the factions and representations came from or were approved by Mike Pondsmith, who, if you didn't already know, is not white. Either way, this actually isn't the only thing that created chaos online, because the next debacle comes from this gameplay image that was released after the E3 conference. If you zoom in on the middle yellow advertisement, what can be seen is a model with a very large package promoting a fictional drink with 16 flavors you'd love to mix under the words "mix it up." Immediately, this image created a ton of outrage and anger. First, at the Reset Era forums, you had 24 pages of comments like, "Okay, this is making me question buying the game. How am I not surprised? But make sure to pre-order because we love Keanu," or something. So, to those people who defended CD Projekt Red by saying their problematic issues are contained wholly within their social media platforms, what's the response to this then? And someone actually responded to this comment saying, "They'll be oddly missing from this thread. Also, I'm predicting the inevitable. This is a dystopian universe full of a-holes. Of course there would be things like this defense." We also had somebody making a meme that pretty much said that Keanu Reeves was a band-aid to all the criticisms and outrage that has been thrown at the game and developers CD Projekt Red. Notably, all of this is just from the very first page of this Reset Era gaming forum thread. Outside of this forum though, a few tweets blew up in anger over this, with one Twitter user saying Cyberpunk 2077, "We're stealing a generally LGBT aesthetic, but we're not catering to that community. Sorry not sorry, have chiseled dude bro." Watch Dogs, meet Helen, the surprisingly spry 80-year-old anti-fascist hacker assassin. There she goes tasing a cop, what a kidder. I'm not saying Cyberpunk 2077 will be a bad game, I'm just saying that the way it's being marketed right now suggests a not very cyberpunk game. Since people don't understand what marketed means, I'm specifically talking about the choice of face for the trailers of the games, and nothing about the quality or lack thereof for the game themselves. The original post is purely about the marketing decisions. Seriously, you have a generic scruffy dude who's neither cyber nor punk among an underclass that is heavily stylized off the late 80s to early 90s LGBT club scene. That's a crappy marketing decision, and I hope it doesn't reflect the actual product. only time will tell. That's actually another bizarre criticism I've seen with Cyberpunk 2077. Many seem angered that CD Projekt Red chose to make the game's cover of a white dude, which I will note the cover is reversible with female V on the other side. You have one video game producer saying on Twitter, Cyberpunk 2077 is a dystopia because 58 years have passed and boring white men are not extinct yet. This same individual previously said, this looks like the most crappy, bland, and regressive game I've seen in years. Imagine thinking of a cyberpunk future and all you can come up with is scruffy white guy with a gun. This is a game for people who think looking like that is cool. Anyway, getting back on topic, back to the main criticism, it's important to know this advertisement was actually shown about a year ago in the 48-minute gameplay demo that was released publicly online by CD Projekt Red after Gamescom. But this advertisement was only shown for a few seconds in the demo, along with a lot of other ads and things going on, so it looks like almost everybody did not notice it. But with mounting criticism and outrage online, a few gaming websites directly talked to CD Projekt Red, I believe at E3 2019 about it. Specifically, CD Projekt Red art director Kasia Redisuik, I probably mispronounced that badly, but she is the artist of this advertisement and spoke with Polygon about the controversial design. Polygon immediately got to the big question asking why this trans model was used in this advertisement. The art director's response, personally for me, this person is beautiful. I like how this person looks, however, this model is used, their beautiful body is used for corporate reasons. They are displayed there just as a thing, and that's the terrible part of it. See, the primary issue I have with this culture of getting immediately angry about everything is not understanding context. That'll be or has been a theme throughout this video, but a lot of people seem to ignore the lore and original creator of this franchise. They just immediately make assumptions about a work, not considering maybe there's a deeper meaning to all of this, something that may become obvious once you actually play the game and experience it. Now, the CD Projekt Red artist would further explain that Night City, the setting of this game, features many people who are gender non-conforming, some of whom enjoy showing off their bodies in public. They are a demographic group with significant purchasing power, and so mega corporations use their likenesses to sell soft drinks. It's supposed to be a play on the same sort of hypersexualized advertising that modern companies use to sell products today, just brought in line with the kind of future CD Projekt wants to portray. It was a conscious choice on our end to show that in this world, a world where you are a cyberpunk, a person fighting against corporations. That advertisement is what you're fighting against. Personally, I think this explanation makes a lot of sense, but to some like the Daily Dot, I guess it's still just a problem, as they wrote an article titled Deeply Bad Advertisement and Cyberpunk 2077 Represents Everything Wrong with Cyberpunk. And within this article, the journalist states the ad reflects cisgender people's current conceptions of trans bodies, so for most cis players, the satire does not land, and it calls into question whether CD Projekt Red ever intended the ad to be satirical in the first place. Right-wing gamers clearly didn't think so. And through the rest of this article, this journalist brings up CD Projekt Red's previous incidents, the art director's response, outrage tweets, and other journalists' opinion on this, like Astrid Johnson, who believes the art director had good intentions, but that her comments really further highlight just how clueless those at CD Projekt are about trans bodies and what constitutes good trans representation. She believes CD Projekt Red is using that model's identity as set dressing to appease a progressive audience and as the subject of mockery for its more socially conservative audiences. Anyway, this article concludes with this bold statement. So before CD Projekt starts playing with gender in ham-fisted ways, perhaps the company should look to itself and question whether it's perpetuating the very same capitalist dystopian fantasy Cyberpunk 2077 is, on the surface, trying to critique. Now, as I stated before, a lot of assumptions are being made, like that this is the only way CD Projekt Red will showcase trans representation. In the past, I've said people should respect the artistic vision, and in this case, I think a lot of people should wait to see the final game because recently, CD Projekt Red's quest designer confirmed to Gamasutra that they are building more ways for everyone to roleplay the character that they want. And based on this developer's response, this doesn't seem to be something just tacked on. It really does appear that CD Projekt Red cares, something that the Daily Dot article ignorantly claimed otherwise. But there's a lot of criticism and anger being thrown at CD Projekt Red just because. They are a game company that a lot of people respect and admire, which unfortunately has made them a target for a loud minority who feel they have to be one way, they have to operate one way. For sure, there are valid criticisms that have been made, and I can understand some concerns raised, but at the same time, I see a lot of the outrage erupting from misinformation or just assumptions. Cyberpunk 2077 is set in a dystopian future where corporations rule Night City. It showcases the dangers of unchecked capitalism, as various corporations, or I should say megacorporations, exploit people at every opportunity they can because they don't care. Anyway, as usual, these are just my opinions. Not everyone will agree with them, and that's fine. But please let me know down in the comment section below, agree or disagree, your thoughts. But thank you for watching. Make sure to leave a like if you did enjoy this video or found any informative value, and make sure to follow my other social media accounts for updates on new videos. Links are always down in the description below. I'm most active on Twitter, giving opinions on news that I do not always get into video form, so make sure to follow me over there. Also check out my Discord for all sorts of discussion on games. And again, thank you for joining, consider subscribing for more videos like this, and I'll see you later.